Hello, this is Pestilman 1951, and I am now starting on part 3 of my paleo work. And here is an interesting little thing that is actually a flute that came out of the side of a great big old Clovis somebody was making. Now, I didn't decide that all on my own. I had about 3 or 4 of my, well, actually, the number one best buddy for fluting stuff tell me that's what it was. And it was found in a very likely scenario to boot. Here is a Clovis knife that I found up on the Wyoming Montana border. It's out of Green River Chert, and it just matches up perfectly to things out of the Finn collection, which kind of had a lot of stuff out of Green River Chert in there. And well, what they did is they made a large biface to start with. I guess it was easier knocking off the giant overshot flakes out of a wider thing, and then they broke it into 2 pieces and made 2 of them out of it, and pretty much used it like that. That's as near as I can tell how Clovis guys use knives. And I don't know, maybe they could have worked this into a point at some later time as well if they needed to. But as I understand it, they really didn't put flutes in their knives unless it was from a point that was a reject point, or a point that had been broken and broken and reworked. Now, here are some things here. These, I'll go over them real slow. Now, these are my Lake Mojaves, and these are, Great Basin Man just finds the heck out of these things, but no, that's not a Lake Mojave. This one here is my Clovis, my petrified wood Clovis that I just kind of drug on out for the fun of it again. And just to give everybody one more look at it. But yeah, these are my Lake Mojaves, okay? Now, the thing about Lake Mojaves is they keep getting broader till they're about 3/4 or maybe a little bit of the way to the top, a little bit more up to the top than you're used to seeing on points. They get wider as they go upwards. And these are Overstreet is calling Lake Mojaves about 16 or 1800 years older than Clovis's are now, and I'm not quite sure how I get that, but that's what he's doing, so I'll buy it. I've got some other ideas on the subject that I'm going to introduce at a later time. But these are my measly, when you consider that there are, 1,000-mile tracts of desert out there, specifically those right around where the Pleistocene Lake Mojave was in the Mojave Desert, that I think I have a footprint in every square yard of that whole thing looking for Lake Mojaves. And Great Basin Man just has slaughtered me at finding Lake Mojaves. Yeah, here's another Clovis knife I've got. That's that same deal. They all seem to kind of lean heavily to one side, and this one here might even have a flute. They may have tried to. This might have been an attempt at starting up a knife that a point that they rejected. And I actually think this thing here is a Lake Mojave-ish kind of thing too, but I'm not positively sure. Boy, they didn't do a very good job working it down. I think it was just too tough for them to do. Now, something else that's, for a paleo point, there's just a ton of them, like this thing here, that just might as well be unfluted Folsoms or tiny unfluted Clovis points, because boy, they're just paper thin down on the end. I mean, why would you need to flute something that is just too small to even take one more tiny little wedge flake out of, you know, before it was going to break? But there's a, what did I do with that case? Okay, now I've got some more of my little baby Paleos going here. Now these are the ones I was talking about that are just, these are kind of broken up and stuff, but they just might as well practically be like little unfluted Folsoms or little Clovises, one or the other. I don't know what they are because there's just so many of them out there like that. This one here looks a little Daltonish to me, but they're certainly fluted. Now here's a little drill that forever and a day I thought was a Clovis point, until one day I was just looking at it and I realized, well, hey, it's got little bevels. It's got bevels in the drill and bevels down in here too, down on the side of the point. And so if it's got bevels, the rule is it's anything looking Clovis-y like, it's a Dalton. Now look at this thing here. This is now in the part of Oklahoma that these things here came from. They're almost all out of Alabates flint, and the part of Oklahoma that they came from is about 90 miles as the crow flies from the Alabates quarry. And so by the time the flint and the points got to our part of Oklahoma, they were probably almost out of it and needed to go back for more. So all their points that they seemed to make there were just little tiny things. It's kind of funny. Little baby Paleos. But boy, they made a lot of them. And this is one of those things that's, forget what it's called. It's slipping my mind right this second, but it's out of, it's in Arizona or New Mexico. It's I'll think of it in a minute. Sorry about that. Now here's a Scott's Bluff with a little bit of size to it. I forgot the best part of the story on this one here. I went with some guys I was just going to harvest some Green River chert, and the guys I went with were kind of friends of a friend of mine and really didn't want to take me, and they were kind of, you know, acting like I was a third wheel or something. So I just kind of stayed off by myself, and then I realized that they had found something really cool, and what they had done is they'd found a little mini cache of Clovis points, and they hauled out about, I don't know, 3 or 4 Clovis points out of a certain area. And I asked them, I said, well, you know, where they wouldn't even show them to me. You know, they were talking about them, and I got glimpses of them, but they weren't even going to show them to me. And so you know, I realized where they had found them, and I asked, "Are you guys sure you found them all up there?" And oh yeah, they were sure. So as soon as they rolled out, I went on up there and poked around a couple of minutes, right in their footprints, and pulled this guy out, this little Clovis knife. And I never told them I found it. So it's feed for the gooses, feed for the gander, I guess. Now, here are a whole bunch of my brokies, all of my 1001 Paleo brokies. I think I told you yesterday about, this is my C and D cases of these guys. And this bottom row here that I'm showing you right now is all hafted scrapers. Got that. Which I'm pretty sure all started off as things that broke in the fluting process and broke straight across the blade in such a manner that it was just ideal for turning into a little, you know, you got lemons, better make lemonade, and that's what they did. They made little hafted scrapers out of all these things. I realized yesterday that when I looked at the video, first couple of pieces of this exercise and video making that I put up, that I forgot to tell the whole story on this thing. And that is, we made it in tandem, the two of us, because basically this thing started off about the thickness and width of a brick and just a little bit longer. Now, I don't know what that is. That's probably 7.5 inches, almost 8 inches long. And we just took it down just one flake at a time, trying to do Utrapa flaking, running back and forth to reduce it quickly without breaking it. And basically, when you're napping something like this here, starting from the get-go on it, the temptation, every layer that you take down in the thinning process, you got to start backing off just a little bit on how hard you hit them, and being a little bit more careful for when you pop the flake off. And what the temptation is to keep going on. You get them going good, and the temptation is just to keep using the same level of force with each percussion strike. And if you do it, it's a matter of time. You're going to break it in half every time. So and I'm sure the Native Americans did it like this too. By far the best way to flint nap a large thing like this is to do it in stages and put it down. Go cool your head off, or save it for another day to take and start up fresh in your brain for the next step of it. But we didn't have days to do it in, so the way we handled it was we split it up with one guy working for about half an hour, 45 minutes, while the other guy tended the kielbasa on the barbecue and kept fresh bottles of red wine getting popped open. And by the end of the day, we had this thing pretty well christened with blood and wine, the truth be told.